Okay, something new for you guys for science. It's called graffiti. Okay, this is called a grid. Okay, a grid is when you have a series of lines going both horizontal. Remember, the sun came up over the horizon, right? That's a horizontal line, horizon, and vertical. Okay, and you have a series, and they use these lines oftentimes for maps. Okay, especially if you have a map in a place where you don't know how to pronounce the words to the names of the rivers and the mountains, okay? And you're unfamiliar with it. Instead, they make a grid, and you may have seen this in movies that have a military or police or fire, and they say, what are your coordinates? Coordinates, okay? Coordinate, that's when you put things together that go together. They work together. When you cooperate, similar word, right? Coordinates, it goes together, okay? And coordinates is when you're going to get two numbers, okay? And on street maps, on state maps, county maps, they'll usually have like letters on one axis. Remember, this is the x-axis, and numbers on the other axis. This is the y-axis. In this case, we're just dealing with numbers. And again, coordinates means you're going to get two. They also call it a coordinate pair. Now, when would you use something like this? Well, like I say, the military uses it all the time, okay? We've been sort of having our soldiers in the mountains of Afghanistan for years fighting the Taliban. Remember, if you guys know who Malala is, she's that woman who, when she was a girl, she got shot in the head. They tried to kill her. Really horrific thing happened to her. Um, but the good side of the story is she lived. And she is world famous now. And she goes out and speaks out against people that are mean, specifically mean to girls. She was basically, they tried to kill her. The Taliban does not believe that girls should go to school. They don't believe people should be educated, but especially girls. So really mean people. So we've been fighting those people in the hills of Afghanistan. But if you are fighting in a war, the uniform you want to be wearing is a United States uniform, okay? Number of different reasons for that. One reason, we spend more money than most people, most countries. We're the richest country in the world. We should spend more money, right? But what does that get us? Well, one of the things it gets us superior air power. We get the latest and greatest airplanes. And if you're fighting a war and your airplanes and fighter pilots are better than the enemies, then you end up shooting down their planes and you get to fly your planes. All right, so if you're wearing a U.S. uniform and you're at war and you hear the sound of an airplane, that's usually a comforting sound for you. Where if you're the enemy of the U.S. and you hear an airplane, you're running for cover because it's usually a U.S. airplane, right? So let's pretend like there's a river going through here, and the good guys, U.S. guys, they're over here. Good guys always have smiles on their face, right? White hats, right? And the bad guys, let's say the bad guys, the Taliban guys, the guys you're fighting against, bad guys always look mad, huh? Right? They're over here. And you want to go get those guys. And right now you're far enough apart that no one can shoot at each other, right? The bullets don't go that far. But you got to go down and cross this river. And when you get to about here, all of a sudden their bullets can hit you, right? They're up on this hill and you're going to climb up that hill to go get the bad guys. And they start shooting. And you're like, oh man, I don't want to go get shot at. What do? Well, you call your friend in the Air Force. You say, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you drop a bomb on those bad guys for me so they'll come out and surrender, right? And if you're in the U.S., you could do that, right? So the guy in the Air Force says, sure, where do you want me to drop the bomb? So you have to tell them, okay? So what we have is we have these coordinates, and the coordinates have to do with how far over you're going and how far up, right? So where is the coordinates of the bad guys? Well, X comes before Y, right? X always comes before Y. Remember that. The x-axis is always the horizontal axis, so it's going to be how far you go over. The y-axis is, the vertical axis is how far you go up. So where is this guy? Well, you'd call the guy up in the Air Force and say, yeah, drop the bomb over there, and you give him the coordinates. The coordinates are two numbers. They're written like this, in parentheses, and the coordinates for where this guy lives, or where he is, where you want the bomb to drop, is over 2 and up how far? Well, over 2, up 6. So you'd say, sure. Can you drop the bomb at 2-6? Again, we're not going to say the name of the mountain or the valley, or we don't know. Sometimes you can't even pronounce those words, right? So you're saying he's over at 2-6. Okay. Now this is where I hope you studied your math and science in 6th grade, right? Because think to yourself, what if you didn't know that X came before Y? What if you didn't know that's what you were supposed to do and say over first and up second, right? Over happens first, right? Okay, and up happens second. That's the second number. How far you want. What if you mix those up? Think to yourself, right? What if you said the 6 first and the 2 second? Well, then that guy in the Air Force says, sure, I'll drop a bomb at 6-2 for you. And he goes over 6. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you just called a bomb on yourself. You don't want that. So most of the time in math and science, you don't get a concept or something. It's no big deal, right? You lose some points, maybe don't score as well on the test as you want, but oh my goodness, you better study this, huh? Otherwise you might bomb yourself. Now, you're safe now, right? Uh-oh. You better hope your friend in the Air Force studied too, huh? He might mix them up. All right, now how do we remember this? The way I tell kids to remember this is who uses this kind of stuff? The Navy, right? The Army, the Air Force, the Marines, but also like the police and fire. And usually they're talking, but they're not talking on cell phones, right? How do they talk to each other? Right? They get on the radio, it's like a walkie-talkie. Anybody ever play with a walkie-talkie before? Yeah, they're great. You press a button, you talk, and your friend press a button, they talk. And if you both press a button at the same time, no, you can't hear each other, huh? So there's a code they use. If you ever use a walkie-talkie, there's a code. When you're done talking and the other person's going to talk, what do they say? Over, right? You say, hey, Jim, you want to play today? Over. And your friend Jim picks up the walkie-talkie and says, sure. You want to meet at my house or you want to go to the park? Over, right? And you talk back and forth, and each time you're done, and it's the other person's time to talk, you say over. And then mom says, hey, time to come in and eat your lunch. Tell Jim you'll play with him later. So you're telling Jim you're going to leave now, but you're not just telling him you're done talking now. You're telling him, hey, go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to be gone a while, right? How do you say you're done talking? You say over and out, right? Now, I say, remember that, using walkie-talkies when you're doing the grid, because that's how people talk. People use the grids the most, and they always say over and out. Well, this isn't quite over and out. It's over and up, right? But for some people, thinking of it like that, that helps them remember, okay? So if it does, use it. If not, don't, okay? All right, remember that. So you're gonna get these called graffiti worksheets, right? Get the easiest 3 points. What I tell kids to do is circle that X to remind themselves that this is the X-axis. Circle that Y, remind yourself this is the Y-axis. Underline right here, it says X comma Y. What comes first? The X. And then I tell kids to write big letters over with an arrow to the right. Got these parentheses, comma, and then up with an arrow going up. And this should really remind you that the first thing I do is go over. The second number is how far I go up, okay? And all you're doing now is you're gonna plot the dots and connect the dots. So first one, 114. What do I do first? I go over 1 and up 14, and I'm gonna put a dot. Okay, see how I did that? Over 1, up 14. Now I'm gonna put my finger there, and the next number is 1014. I'm going to cross out the 114 so I don't get confused. 1014. So I'm going to go over 10 first, up 14, put a dot, and now I'm going to connect those dots. Okay? you should connect them as you go. Don't wait for the end, because then you'll have all these dots and you won't know which order you're supposed to go in. So that's where I'm at now. Cross out the 1014, go to 1023. I go over the same amount, but I'm going past that 14 all the way up to 23. Okay, and if you don't have a ruler, you should. If you picked up the packet, you got a ruler, right? Connect those dots. I'm going to cross out 1023, go to the next one, 1423. So now I'm going all the way over to 14, over first, up second, up to 23, connect those dots. Okay? After 1423, I go 1414. I go over 14, up 14. Okay, so far so good. Guys think you get this? Okay, what's next? 2314. What do I do at 23? Do I go up? No. Over first, up second, over 23, almost to the end, and then up 14. Okay, and then connect those dots. Actually helps sometimes you have another color while you do this. That blue blends into the black a little bit. Okay, what do I have next? 2314, I just did that. 2310, over the same amount, but now I'm only going up 10. Looks like it's making a big plus sign or something, huh? All right, I think you know enough about this now. Go ahead and try it. And then what I'll do is I will post a picture, okay, after you're done. You can go check and see what your picture looked like. But you're gonna do this one. This is 1 and 3, okay? Do both of those. And remember what you do, right? Over, up, put that arrow going to the right first, going up second, put it in parentheses, underline the X, Y, circle the Y so you know the vertical axis. You can write vertical if you want here, help you learn that word. Okay, horizontal axis is the X, that's what you do first. Okay, go finish these, have fun with them. We have a few more coming next week. I think you'll like these.